Very good question, and I thank you for that. Actually, all the legislation, again, I can't help but allude to this, ladies and gentlemen, that I've already done legislation at the state level to do that. But what I was talking about earlier is the role of the mayor. The mayor is ex officio member of the Board of Education. All right? We've had a long history with CREC reports and things not getting done. Why? Because the mayor is pretty much relegated and left it to the Board of Education to get things done. I'm saying to you up front, I will be an education mayor. I will be at those Board of Education meetings. I know that I can only split a tie vote, but guess what? The mayor gets to have a voice and gets to use a bully pulpit. The mayor gets to say, listen, you have the largest share of our budget, school budget, all right? Not only that, I get to look deeper into what's going on because of my relationships that I already have had as being a state representative, working with the Connecticut State Department of Education. I know who the right people are to call. I know how to work more effectively, I think, than anyone that can be here with our legislative delegation. All right? So I'm sensitive to it. The best I can tell you right now, if you gave me a specific policy you want to get done, I tell you what, I work with it. I can't tell you this. In this last session that got through, I was working very hard with trying to get some very specific legislation for special needs populations. I fully believe at the state level we need to do more to up the reimbursement. So as a mayor, it doesn't matter if I'm not a state representative anymore, I can still go to Hartford and advocate for those things. And I think that is a mayor's job. That's a mayor's role. A mayor isn't limited to what happens locally, particularly if your Board of Education is that important. I can tell you that in my 11 years, the mayors of New Haven, Bridgeport, Hartford, we see them regularly. That wasn't happening in Norwalk. So I understand that that's my role, and I would work to do that.
Thank you, Mayor.
Great question. 2 years ago, the Board of Education was looking at the CREC report. CREC report that was released just after the November election. We had a CREC report, and that's the Capital Region Education Committee. That was done back, I think, around 2006 or 2007, that blasted Norwalk in the area of special education. The second CREC report came out, and guess what? Norwalk was doing worse. So we sat down with the Board of Education, again, a partnership, working together, and we put together a plan of special education needs for the young people in Norwalk, so we wouldn't have to send them to Wallingford. We wouldn't have to send them to Meriden. Get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to get on a bus to go to Wallingford. We wanted to bring the special needs children in-house with an IPE that would be suitable for all of them. So we put together a plan where the Board of Education would use part of their reserves of $1.3 million. The city would put in $1.3 million. And then after that, we would see where that special ed program was and see what funding is necessary. And the city agreed that if the funding was still necessary, we'd put in the other $1.3 million. So we have committed over almost $4 million to special education, and we are finding that we can save millions of dollars by investing in money here so we can keep the special education children in town and service them here. And that's how we did it, by putting together a partnership.
Thank you, Mayor. Lisa?
Special education has been a problem since I've been involved in the school district since '04. And we have struggled both in terms of a management perspective as well as a funding point of view. Every child deserves a free and appropriate education. That is the law. We have to figure out how to pay for it. And one of the ways that you pay for it is making sure that your city is performing. I was actually asked by folks in the school system to run for the Board of Education. And I said, you know, the Board of Education is running fine. You don't need me on the Board of Education. I need to be over on the city side so we can start generating revenue so we can fully fund our school system. And again, as a businesswoman, as someone who sees the potential of Norwalk and what we're not realizing, that's what we've got to do. Until we can grow the revenues of this city in terms of how we plan and how we zone it, we're always going to struggle to fund our school system. And so that's what I want to make, is it's not about, everything boils down to money. And so you've got to have a plan to fully fund your school system. Because if you're fully funding this area, it maybe means you're probably not doing it in another area. And I'll tell you, even when we say we fully fund it, having been a perpetual fundraiser on the PTA, we still never have enough money. So the education is completely directly related to our planning and zoning and the businesses that we attract to Norwalk to fund our teachers, police, and our fire department. Thank you.
All right, we get to do this again.
You can have
Ready?
Get up. It's painful watching you get up.
Painful watching me. All right.
No, just your knee.
All right, all right. There's a certain number of finite resources we get when we tax our property. And when we get to a certain point in taxing that property, people just don't want to pay more taxes. If we go beyond that significantly, you're going to see people leave. Now, I think everybody knows we already have people leaving. The governor brushed it off and said, well, these are the folks that are getting of an age that they want to retire, and they've decided they want to retire in a warm climate. So they're leaving Connecticut. Well, you know, it was normal to not really leave Connecticut. You went and vacationed in the winter, and you kept your home here, and you came back, and people had families that were extended, and they passed property on here locally. They didn't pull up stakes. And if you get to a point where you overtax, then it's like Conestoga wagons in some movie about a Western. Everybody's lining up to leave. So one of the things your government has to do for you is figure out just how much they can tax and what their alternatives are and what kind of services can be provided to the citizenry for the dollars that they have. Now everybody, including the other candidates here, say that we should be able to do a better job. Well, I think that's true. We should be able to do a better job. I don't think that's going to make an enormous difference, but it'll make a little bit of difference. Going down the road, if you're seeing things that you think you're not getting, that could be a mistake in planning, in policy, or in representation. There are folks that represent you aren't representing you well. But I think we have enough funding right now to maintain the city. My worry isn't for now. My worry is going forward. At the level the state is functioning, not us, the state government, with state employees and state pension plans, they are at the point where if they don't get their act straightened out real soon, they're going to start impacting the cities. And there's not going to be a way around it because the rating agencies are looking at the state saying, you have to get your act together. We're looking at the cities and we're looking at them carefully, and if we downgrade you again, by a downgrade I mean they give a number or letter or a combination thereof to the state and the different towns and cities, telling you how long or what kind of charges they might expect in borrowing money. We borrow a lot of money, hundreds of millions, right? That's exactly how we build things, and we plan in the future to get revenue. So it makes a big difference, and I'm really worried about that going forward. So I think we need very wise management here locally. Thank you.
Thank you.